Okay, hello and welcome back to Principles of Micro with James Bland. This is video 3 out of, well, I'm guessing now at least 3 on producer surplus, so go and check out the other 2 if you haven't already. I'll post a link in the description of this video. So in our previous video, we looked at a stepwise supply curve that looked something like this, right, where we had 3 or 4 different sellers, and we worked out that if we had a prevailing price here, maybe because there's a demand curve passing through the supply curve like this, then we can work out if this is measured of a quantity of 1 and a quantity of 2, right, we've just got sellers who are each selling 1 item, then we can work out the individual producer surplus by working out, well, here's this area 1 is going to be the producer surplus associated with one seller selling their first item, and this second area is going to be the producer surplus for the second producer selling their item, and then total producer surplus, we're just going to add these up, A1 plus A2 is the total benefits, or the total net benefits. We think about this as benefit being price. What did they give up to get that price? They gave up their marginal costs. Producer surplus is the net benefit that producers get out of participating in the market. Now that's all very well and good when we've got a group of sellers, each who can sell 1 item, but usually in Principles of Micro we're dealing with a supply curve, that looks a little bit more like this. Okay, so in this class I'm just going to show you, well, I am going to show you how we can relate what we've worked out with these sort of stepwise supply curves to a continuous supply curve. So you can think about this as a market for something that where the good is, infinitely divisible, maybe something like, well, a good approximation is scooping rice out of a bucket or something like that, or buying gas, that sort of thing, where we'd have a supply curve that's smooth rather than stepwise. And I mean, usually we just assume a smooth supply curve because it makes drawing them and makes the math easy and doesn't really take anything away from our understanding. And so this is, mainly what we're going to be dealing with looking ahead. So let's begin by supposing that we have a prevailing price somewhere along here. So here's our initial price, and this might be because we have a demand curve that's passing through this part of the supply curve. Okay, but that's just going to complicate the picture, so I'm going to take it away. Okay, now remember that in chapter 4 we learned that one of the interpretations of the height of the supply curve is that it is seller's marginal cost. Okay, so what this means is that there is a seller, say somewhere here on the supply curve, that has this marginal cost, but they managed to sell the item for this price. Okay, so maybe the price here is $5 and the marginal cost here could be $3, and so they got a $2 benefit, a $2 benefit from participating in the market, right? They are $2 happier if we can measure happiness in money units, which, for the purposes of this course is an okay assumption, but life in general maybe not so much, but I digress. Here they sold something for $5 which cost them $3 to produce, so they are $2 better off. Okay, the question is, how are we going to add up all of these benefits? And the way we're going to do that is by noting that, if we have another seller over here, they're going to have a different marginal cost and they're going to sell it for the same price in the market, right? Because all sellers get the same price. And just like when we work this out for a demand curve, the producer surplus, we're going to calculate here as the area, the area between the price sellers pay. Now remember, in a market without taxes, this is just the price, but when we introduce taxes, say in the next chapter, this is going to be important, between the price sellers pay and the marginal cost curve, which is also the supply curve. Okay, and so that area at a price of $5 is going to be the area of this triangle here. Okay. Now, I haven't given you any equations for the supply curve, and so, you know, with the numbers I've given you, we can't actually work out what this area is, right? I mean, I could sort of try and work out the area on my screen, but, you know, then, you know, scale matters, so that's a thing. But frequently, when we're doing these problems, it doesn't really matter what the value of the area is. It's really a matter of working out which areas are bigger than others. So to give you an idea about this, let's suppose the price goes up. And to do that, firstly, I need to move to a different color. So suppose the price rises to $10. Okay, so we have two things going on here. Okay, so the first thing is that everyone who is already selling the good, right, so that's people along this part of the supply curve, are going to keep selling the good, right? Their marginal costs were below the lower price, so they must still be below the higher price. It's just now that this seller on the supply curve here still has a marginal cost of $3, but now they get to sell their item for $10. So now they are $7 better off instead of $2. Okay, prices have gone up, my costs have remained the same, that's made me happier. Okay, so we have, I'm just going to get rid of that, otherwise it's going to get ugly. We have this area in here, which we can think about as additional producer surplus to initial sellers. Right, so this is producer surplus that sellers who are already selling at the lower price get in addition to what they got at the low price because the prices have gone up. Right, I'm one of these lower marginal cost sellers and prices have gone up. That's great, I'm not going to change what I'm doing, but I'm getting more money for what I'm doing, right? So my producer surplus goes up by this much. Okay, but now we also have some sellers in the market who did not want to sell at $5, but at $10 that makes them happy. So maybe we've got a producer somewhere here who has a marginal cost of, let's say, $7, and now they get to sell their item for $10, and so now they are $10 minus $7, which is $3. Remember, the math is easy. The hard bit, or the new bit for you, will be understanding the interpretation of the math in relevance to economics. So we have some sellers along this part of the supply curve which didn't sell before, and now they're selling. So now we need to include the area of this triangle in here, okay, which is, we can call this producer surplus to new producers. Okay, so just to clarify with these areas, I mean, it should be reasonably intuitive that as prices go up, producers are happier, right? They're selling more stuff at higher prices. That can only be good for producers. Let's show that we can work this out using these areas as well. Okay, so at a price of $5, producer surplus is just equal to the red area. Okay, but when price goes up to $10, producer surplus is now equal to, this is where I need to test my ability to switch between colors quickly, the red area, right? Producers are still getting that, plus the blue area, plus the green area. Okay, and so what we can see here is that when the price is higher, producer surplus is larger by this area here. Okay, producer surplus has gone up by the blue area plus the green area, which now we're really going to test my OneNote skills. Let's see if I can highlight that area. That's nope. Here we go. That's this area here. Okay, this is how much producer surplus has gone up by as the price goes from $5 to $10. Okay, so I think this is about where I want to leave things for producer surplus. In our next video, we're going to put this together with consumer surplus and work out how much benefits does everyone get from participating in the market. So basically, we're going to add up producer surplus and consumer surplus. Thank you very much. I'm James Bland. Have a good one.